And welcome to the DartPoints podcast. How you doing? How's everyone doing today, guys?
Doing well.
Doing great.
So we have a full house today. we are doing, this is probably, I think, Fazely, this is the most people we've had on a single podcast before. But we kind of want to have a special podcast today and kind of highlight our NOC managers and NOC staff.
Yeah, I think that this beats our largest attendance by one. I think we had 5. So this.
What was that podcast?
That was a very old one. I think one that we did on voice.
Okay. Yeah, a long time ago we did one where we had a whole bunch of people.
Yeah, we
but
did
anyway,
that one on voice.
Yeah, but anyway, look, it's good to have you guys from the NOC. Again, what we wanted to do on this podcast was really talk about, the Network Operations Center, right? Or centers at our various data centers and locations. And we wanted to have this time to kind of spotlight, who works in our NOC, right? And we've got a few. We can't have everyone because then we'd have a ton of. We'd have Brady Bunch times 4.
That's it.
But I figured we'd go around and kind of get to know our NOC staff, talk about some of the challenges that we have in the NOC, some of the opportunities, and what you guys face day to day. So before we get started, let's kind of go around the tiles here, and if you wouldn't mind, everyone from the NOC, introduce yourself, talk about maybe your roles, your background, and how long have you been at DartPoints?
I'll kick us off. So good morning to everybody. This feels like Hollywood Squares. My name is CarRon Cooper. I'm the senior NOC manager here at DartPoints, and I have accumulated about 20 years of experience here. Before DartPoints was in the picture, 20 years. So happy to be here. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. Go next. I'm Dustin. I'm NOC manager of Asheville, Greenville, and Spartanburg locations for DartPoints. Been with the company almost 4 years. Within another next couple months, it'll be 4 years. Came from a heavy retail background, retail management, but happy to be here today.
Absolutely. Mark?
Hey, good morning, everyone. Mark Aubert here, Baton Rouge location data center. Been with the company prior 15 years of work experience. Joined DartPoints about maybe 2 months now, 2-3 months now. We've been formally under the umbrella. Excited to be here. Thanks for having me, guys.
And Jerry.
Hey, y'all. My name is Jerry. I am the NOC analyst here in the Columbia, South Carolina data center. I've been with the company just under 1 year. Actually, September the 26th would have been my starting date. So about to come up on that working anniversary. But outside of here, I am a senior going into my senior year at the University of South Carolina studying integrated information technology. And I think that's all.
Nice. Well, congratulations and good luck.
Thank you.
And of course, everyone knows myself and Michael. So, Michael, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. Excited
Awesome.
to get to spotlight the NOC. I think this is the first time that we've done this on podcast, but super important to give the NOC their kind of moment to shine, because they really are kind of unsung heroes for the organization.
Exactly. Yeah. And honestly, our job, my job as a solutions architect, Michael, cybersecurity, we have kind of the easy job, right? We get to work on things when either we're just in the infancy of designing a solution, but the NOC really has the harder job, and that once it's up and running, those guys have to really keep up with the technology, make sure that they resolve when there's a problem. They're kind of our first line of support, right? So it's kind of like, and especially when you look at our NOCs, if you look at some of our literature and photos of our Network Operations Center, it really looks like mission control, right? Because you guys are sitting in front of all the screens. You have all the information and telemetry of our infrastructure up on the board there, and really have a lot of, critical responsibilities in making sure that our systems are monitored, managed, and maintaining the vast amount of networks and infrastructure that has to stay up, right? 24/7, 365.
Yeah, I mean we do, and it's exactly as you described, Will. It feels like mission control. Sometimes it feels like we're in the middle of a launch console, right, with a countdown, with all the screens. But exactly described correctly, we are the front line of support. Many will see us as the lighthouse of support, right, coming into the company and all things encompassing on that front line. So we are the guys that bridge the gap between what is needed from the customer and how they connect to our resources that they pay for.
Absolutely. We talk about also, when we start looking kind of, what makes our NOC special, right? What makes our NOC different from, other network operation centers, right? And when we look at maybe other providers or other locations, a lot of times the NOC really, or other NOCs really are first line. They're all first line of support, but a lot of times they're just taking a call, opening a case, and submitting it on to someone, right? The thing I like about with the DartPoints Network Operations Center, it's really more than that. You guys are well-versed in our applications, our customer needs, kind of also being kind of that customer, you getting to know the customer and their quirks or whatever. Can you guys talk a little bit about, can we start kind of looking at the pillars of customer support, right? Consistency and excellence, and so on. What does that mean to you day to day?
Well, yeah, go ahead, Mark. Go.
Yeah, we're gonna fight. Well, for day to day, for me, Will, just being supported, like you said, here at DartPoints, it was a little bit of transitional point from what we normally see from normal NOCs, where you just basically first level support, monitoring, and just report issues. Here at DartPoints, it's a different standpoint. That still exists, but it's still another level of where there's interaction of where we go out to mitigate those issues also. Customer calls in and needs help with whatever. There's somewhere in the world, for example, there's customers across the world in another time zone, in Italy, wherever it may be in the world, they put in the case, and here it is, they can't get there in time. So they ask us to go out and try to help and, sometimes take pictures and analyze and get the details for them. But at the same time, we become the person that really is mitigating that situation for them to get them back up to a running state. So for us, it means a lot that someone can lean on us. Being halfway around the world in a different time zone, can't get there, but we're a responsible party to help them get back up and running in a timely fashion. So for us, that means a lot. And that's a different standpoint than normal NOC situations, being that what they call now quotations, remote hands. Basically you're being the hands for that person who can't get there to do the work that needs to be done.
Absolutely.
Yeah, Dustin, what would you say, Dustin?
I was just about to add the point of, support within this industry. It can be any number of physical things, right, that we're doing. But I wanted to highlight the fact that we absolutely support our customers, like as a person, as an entity, right? It's not just the literal physical work that we're doing. We're trying to make sure that things are truly resolved and take care of our people.
Yeah.
I think that support has a few different ways of being defined in this sense. For us especially, I think we go a little deeper than just the physical help.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that also goes into like when when the network operations center folks are continually trying to gain knowledge of knowledge and expertise of the products and services we support, right? Whether if it's VMware, Zerto, Veeam, or whatnot. Consistency and excellence really is kind of the thing that we're striving for, right? And it's not really a destination; it's more of a journey, right?
Yep.
So doing things like keeping up on certifications, right? Even if it's just some of the things that are available online, right, from our vendors, but keeping up with certifications, keeping up with the changing technology landscape of what we do in the data center is really critical, right?
Yeah. And it changes from time to time, Will. Like it changes all of the time. That continuing education actually never stops for us, whether that's a new product being released or a new revision of a workflow, right? To help add some efficiency to either what we're doing for the customer or for ourselves, right?
CSI, continual service improvement. It is one of the biggest key points of of what we try to focus on as management of the NOC group is making sure that we're as efficient as we possibly can be with all of our products that we have available.
Yeah,
absolutely. So going out, getting certifications on your own is great, but also I want to stress what I see in our NOC a lot is really the cross-training aspect, right? Where maybe, you're working alongside your fellow NOC engineers, whether they're sitting in the next seat from you or maybe in the next state. When someone doesn't know something, right? Or if there's something that our NOC technical support needs to brush up on, the thing I really like is the kind of the cross training that goes in the organization, right? Whether we're doing online demos amongst ourselves, getting ready to prep or to release a new product, or just something where if someone needs maybe Linux help, right, or needs to cross train, I see that, the support team pairing up together to really continue, bringing us forward, right? Continual service improvement.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
I was gonna say,
Yeah.
Jerry more recently can probably speak to some of the outreach he's had with engineering services on a few things.
Oh yeah, for sure, Dustin. I am encouraged by NOC management and really everybody here to reach out and to discuss and talk about these things. If I don't know something, going directly to our engineering services, infrastructure services, or anything like that to get more knowledge and gain more information on that. Specifically, something that I'm working on right now is with a IPsec VPN tunnel, and I'm working directly with one of our engineers to build that out and to help support our customer at the front line so that it doesn't necessarily have to be escalated up, and it can keep them working on the bigger projects while still having the customers be supported efficiently and in a timely manner.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's highly encouraged, and it's always very helpful. Like what Jerry is saying, we're able to stay on the cutting edge because of that, right? And stay one step ahead of the issue that we're dealing with because we're doing that type of communication and encouraging it. Really, we don't want it to where people can't talk to people, right? And then making sure that we're treating each other like the internal customer that we should be is very important too. I know we always talk about how we take care of the external customer. It is equally important to invest in that internal customer, which is your coworker.
Absolutely. And also really, I want to stress just communications in general, right? When you're in the customer service field, communication is the high order bit, right? It is the thing that will make you or break you, especially when you're dealing with customers, maybe in difficult situations, right? You kind of have to be, 100% technical or, know your chops on the solution that you're working with, but you also kind of have to be part psychologist, right? Yeah. To understand maybe what the customer's going through, to kind of have that the verbal and non-verbal, right? Because we're all on some type of video chat these days, kind of understanding what the customer is asking for, even if they're not directly asking for XYZ, right? So kind of getting in and kind of understanding what the customer is going through, and then being able to kind of help guide the customer down the whatever thing we're trying to fix.
Yeah, it's a bit of a different mentality from an infrastructure role, right? Typically in an infrastructure role, you're kind of behind the curtain, kind of like Oz. You're not dealing with the customers face to face all the time. And in a NOC position, you are dealing with the customer all the time. And oftentimes you're dealing with the customer when there's something wrong, right? There's some type of outage, something is broken. The customer is stressed because their business is being impacted. And you have to play this role where you're trying to help them resolve their issue, but you're also trying to keep them calm and reassure them that you're here to help, that you're going to get their problem solved in an efficient manner. So that takes a lot of soft skills as well as technical skills, right? You can't just roll in and be like, hey, I know everything there is to know from a technical perspective. If you don't have those soft skills, it's going to be really hard for you to be able to succeed in a NOC position. That's
absolutely.
Especially when we're dealing with, because disaster security is one of our fundamental solutions that we provide to people, data center services, data protection, but also disaster recovery. So being able to, work with a customer who's under major stress, when they're doing a failover or there's something bad happen at their location, that really is an art in itself, right? I mean, just looking back on some of the things I've done with our team during like Hurricane Katrina, and this is dating us a little bit, right? But back in the day, when customers would declare a disaster, it wasn't just, hey, my servers are down. It's, hey, my building's burned down. Oh, and by the way, or flooded, right? Or my house is flooded. And I have some stories, coming back from the Katrina days where customers declared a disaster the morning that things really went bad during Katrina. And when they finally got to the data center, to our business continuity center, the customer's like, William, I don't know what you got, but if you have anything at all, it's better than what I have, because I have nothing now. When the customer sat down at their cube in our cube farm, and they logged into their local machine there, and everything worked. Their databases was there, their data was up and running, their applications were functional. And literally they came outside, the guy was in tears. He's like, man, I don't have anything. My house is flooded. I'm in like complete disarray, but my business is going to succeed. I still have my business where other people in my area don't. And that was really, for me, that was really kind of a cool thing to experience.
But those are the things that we're looking to experience, William, right? The success stories that a customer was able to utilize our services or our personnel and be able to have business success going into the future. The one thing I wanted to bring up from your previous point was sometimes we just have to be really good translators, right? A translator of what the heck the customer is asking for and saying, oh, I heard what you said, but what you really mean is this. Let me get you to the right guy, or let me do that for you. Let me help you out, because they may not be expressing it the right way. So your support staff at large that you have on the screen, we are most definitely translators. We're most definitely your front line. We're doing our best to understand the psychology of the customer, right? And when I say psychology of the customer, I'm talking about when they're calling you and saying something is wrong, but you really don't know how mad they really are, right? They may be mad at you. They may be mad at the fact that there is an outage in the service degradation is occurring right now, right? They could be mad because they didn't get enough sleep last night because it was an all-nighter and they had a maintenance window. It could be so many different things, but the support, aka NOC, that we have here at DartPoints, we're skilled to be able to take all of those on, right? And be able to help out the customer the best way that we can. If we can, let's just say we ain't got it, we definitely can escalate, right? And there's a team of professionals behind us that can help us, not just at this tier, but at several tiers of the company, it encompassing our infrastructure services, obviously, network operations, cybersecurity. Those guys have our back, and we have their back as well. So I think it's worth mentioning that too, because this is not just a NOC effort. This is an entire company effort to be able to help out the customer and help them out. We're all customer facing. I say that many times in a lot of arenas, and somebody typically says, oh, no, we're not. But we really are, right? And we are at the point at which we are contacting the customer or responding to the customer or doing something for the customer, even when they're not looking. You are customer facing because your work is being represented there.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Mark, have you seen, I mean, you can probably definitely agree with that, because I know you've been working in the IT industry for a very long time and have seen a lot with what you've done in your previous position, and then now in the NOC position you're in. Definitely have seen a lot, right?
Yeah, and that's to my advantage. I have 20 years experience, only a couple of months in the NOC, so I've worked first line support, delivering products, supporting products, from that nature, and it's just like what you guys said, man. It's a passion type of thing, because when people call you, and what I was trying to get to in my first conversation about this was that they actually need you. So when you feel needed and that you can have the resources, you have the knowledge, you have the willpower to make a difference for someone, like you said, the guy who didn't have anything, at some point it's customer service, but it's really actually caring for people that really takes that takes you over, that puts that real factor. It's like the fact that, yeah, I know your server is down, but if I was there, I would want somebody to help me. So it's that help factor that I think that we grew to, because when starting out, Will, you can contest, you, Will, and CarRon, we were a small mom and pop shop. And what we did was we tailored to those customers. When they called in and they had any technical need, we didn't turn them away. Even if it was something that we weren't, knowledgeable in or whatever, but they felt so relaxed. It's like a kid,
Yeah.
You've always saved me. You always take care of me. So I got another problem. Can you help me? And,
So sometimes that's like not a good thing, right?
It's not,
like,
but it's a good feeling to be needed.
Oh, it is.
Excellent.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. I remember I was talking to, I was talking to one of our seasoned NOC people, and they were talking to me about a customer that told them once. They said, I know you don't know this, but I know you know it. And the guy was like, "Wow, I really don't." He goes, "No, you do."
You do.
And he's like, "I need you to help me with this, right?" And sometimes that can be, that they'll put you on the spot, right? It's like, well, I really don't know that, but that goes into the trust that builds up between the customer and the service provider, right? And that is a very big thing, right? That is the most important thing, is when your customers actually trust you with their data, with their infrastructure. It's amazing, right? And when you have compliments like that, it really makes your job, it's a very difficult job, but there's rewards, when customers talk to you like that. I'm sure Dustin and Jerry, you guys have seen that before.
For sure. I mean, the word that was coming to mind with Mark's point that he was saying, and I had mentioned before, kind of support is a bigger definition than what you typically think of when you think of technical support within our industry. It's very fulfilling to be needed, and you help resolve whatever issue they may have, facing them, be it, the most critical of, and everyone's all stressed out, or it's like, hey, this doesn't look right. Let's see what we can figure out to make this better. Whatever the gambit, right? If it's something massive or small, it is very fulfilling to assist and help and resolve these things as they come.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and also
Definitely for sure. And
Go ahead, Jerry.
well, definitely for sure in the aspect of being needed and getting put on the spot and such. I have had multiple conversations with customers where I don't necessarily know right now, but I'm going to find out.
Right.
And that's the key thing there, is finding out and knowing somebody who can find that out. Knowing the information is one thing, but knowing somebody who knows the information is another. And being able to have that support of, again, the back end and being able to go to them for a lot of issues definitely helps out. And especially with communicating back and forth with customers. I come from a background of retail consumer electronics sales. So trying to translate and understanding what somebody says when they really don't know what they're trying to say is kind of a strong suit to me, especially with dealing with a lot of the more elderly people in consumer electronics sales. It's definitely hard trying to figure it out, but you eventually get there, and they're very pleased with the product. And I bring that to the table here, and I'm able to provide that as well.
Jay,
Absolutely.
that is a gift. That's a gift,
Oh, yes,
Jerry.
for sure.
You can't teach that, by the way. Like,
No.
So coming from that background, right? When you mentioned the elderly, right? my grandmother would call it a golden translator, right? A golden translator, somebody that can actually translate from the golden era what the person is saying and actually make apples to what the heck they're saying. And that is a skill, a gift. It's hard to teach. Sometimes we don't know what they're saying, but
Yes, sir.
but to do that is actually, really
Well,
awesome. Good
and it's
point, Jerry.
harder. It seems to get harder and harder because in the industry we're in, man, how many acronyms do we have, right? How many abbreviations do we have? It's its own language, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's what I was going to say also, Will, is that through these customer relations and these things that we build with these customers, it pushes us to a different level.
Yeah.
And it's just what Jerry was saying. I was going to comment. That's how we kind of bump heads, because we're thinking the same thing. When they call in and we don't know, it pushes me to know. It pushes me to learn. It pushes me to be that person, because you confide in me. You called me, and I want to be reliable to you. I don't want to be saying I don't know, because at some point you're going to be like, well, you're not my guy anymore. And so it makes you relevant, and it makes you push you to a point in where you're, staying relevant with what their needs are and with the current technology.
Absolutely. But I will say though, I do have customers that I'll run into, especially, with solutions architecture, right? I think customers, is, and Jerry kind of touched on this, is if you don't know the answer, that's okay. But if you know how to get it relatively quickly,
really
that
awesome.
is really
Yeah.
important, right? Whether you're reaching out to, whether you're reaching out to a colleague in your work group or going into maybe like the infrastructure, tapping someone from infrastructure or solutions architecture, cybersecurity, we have all the disciplines covered at DartPoints, right? So when we don't know something, the best thing to tell the customer is like, hey, I don't really know, but I can find out like in 5-10 minutes.
Yeah.
Right. And then obviously when we really get stuck on a problem, right, we have our vendor base, right? So if we have to like phone a friend,
Right.
we can call our vendors and get really deep into the support. I remember years ago when I was working with a customer who had, this is back in the NT40 days. This is a long time ago. And we had a problem with a customer was doing an upgrade to their primary domain controller, and it went completely south. The upgrade went wrong, right? And we could not figure out how to recover the server. And we ended up calling Microsoft. And the thing is, we didn't wait too long to call them. We figured out we didn't know how to fix the problem, so we engaged with Microsoft. And the guy at Microsoft went, "Huh, never seen that before."
Never seen that before.
But the guy was amazing. He pulled out, he was literally, we were on the phone with him and he was doing a remote desktop share with us. And he started pulling out the hex editor. So, it gets bad when the vendor pulls out a hex editor and starts editing,
Yes.
binary files and stuff. Long short of the story is we had someone who had way deep knowledge into what was the problem and was able to get the customer up and running, within a couple of hours, which was great because it was a pretty bad problem. But, that's kind of the support we have, right? That
Yeah.
from our NOC all the way to internal. And then when we need to go out and get with vendors, they're there for us.
Yeah, our support is far deeper than ourselves, and we have multiple layers of support that we can help the customer with. It just depends on what it is. Something that I wanted to bring back up again, Will, that we kind of glossed over was the care factor. Mark mentioned it. It's very important to mention here. The care factor that we have for the customer at large is extremely important, and we should be partnering with them in their issue, right? I'm partnering with you to get to the solution. I'm here to help you, and I'm going to do everything that I can, even if it's not my problem, right? Sometimes the problem that you have is a vendor-specific problem, right? That has to be fixed, and I'm sorry, sir, that I can't fix it immediately, but I will get you the help that you need. I'm going to escalate to, whichever tier of that vendor I need to get to, and I'm not going to let off of them until they give me an answer, right? So it's worth mentioning that too. The support is not just the people that you see on the phone. It is multi-layered. It is multi-personnel, and obviously multi-vendor.
Absolutely. And that's really important, right? Acknowledging the good that we do and the good that the customer benefits, when working with DartPoints, but also when, acknowledging when we make mistakes, right? When
Yes.
we make a wrong turn, right? The thing that we always try and do as quickly as possible is make the right turn and then get things moving on. And I think that goes in a lot to customer trust, that when we talk to customers, we're giving them really, what the lay of the land is at the time of the problem and getting them either up and running as quickly as possible or getting their application deployed as quickly as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Especially for, some more widespread affecting, situations that we have. We, as the managers, have a communications tool that will ship out to those that are affected as quickly as we can. And we try to keep them updated as things unfold, we are only human and the machines only do what we tell them to do.
Exactly.
Things will happen, but we do our best to be as transparent as we can and work through what may come.
And
Absolutely.
being transparent and having that honesty with customers goes a long way. I've never been in a situation where we've been talking to a customer about a misstep that we've had where we've been honest and the customer has been super upset about that, right? Usually once you come clean and, hey, this is what we did, there was a misstep here, they'll be like, okay, got it. Thank you for the honesty. They appreciate that a lot more than being given the runaround, where it's like, I don't know what happened, right? Sorry that you were down for an hour and a half. We'll look into it.
Yeah.
That organizations don't like being given that runaround, right? If you come clean, great. Let's move on. Always super understanding when that happens.
Absolutely.
And I'll be the first one to tell a customer when I mess up on something. I remember I was working 4 or 5 cases at the exact same time. One was a firewall, and I did not push the configuration through. I wrote the customer, hey, everything's fine. You should be good to go. He writes back, it's not working. And I go back in. I look at it. Didn't push the configuration. I was like, hey, man, I messed up. I didn't push the configuration. Everything should be good now. Can you test it and make sure? And he was more than accepting on that. And that's something I won't say that commonly happens. I've learned my lesson. But whenever I do, because, again, we're all human. Whenever I do, it's
That's
more
the
of
point.
oh, yeah, for sure. And it's more
Jerry,
of a
that's the point, man. Yeah, we are human. Yes. and mistakes happen. But here's the thing. What you just described is an opportunity to garner trust with the customer, right? I fell on the sword. I messed it up. I'm here to tell you that I messed it up. I'm sorry. We're gonna fix it. No, it doesn't happen all the time, but when it is our opportunity to be accountable, we should be. We absolutely should be. And then the customer come what may, we're gonna have to take it.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely.
And the only thing I would like to add with that too, CarRon, is that over years of experience with this, you build a relationship with the customer, but even sometimes it teaches you and grows you. And what I mean by that is that I've had to tell some customers some difficult information, that's something, that they were looking at is really, I wouldn't say it's not recoverable. It's not in favor of what they thought it was.
It's not favorable. That's right.
And being the bearer of that news sometimes is not always the best thing, like you saying, Jerry, when I mess up, and I say it takes experience and it teaches you logic. It teaches that you need to give people the accurate information quick enough so they can make a decision to do what is in their best interest to get them back to where they need to be. And a lot of times for us, it's almost like, I think of this, it's like we're a 911 operator. We're sitting up here and the phone rings or the email goes off and we just receive it and we have to take action. We have to get in there. We have to make logic. We can't be, emotional about stuff. We can't base our feelings. We have to give the customers direct logic because, like you said, when you talk about the Microsoft incident, we have to know that we have to, cut something or move or do a different action in order to get this customer into a better state. And sometimes it means that I have to put my pride aside. I think I can fix it. It's 2 hours, 3 hours in, I still haven't fixed it. Well, I need to either escalate, I need to try some different path, and also need to communicate with the customer because they need to know where we are at each step of this because they're directly affected. And that's one thing that I think we forget as technicians is that, and I know over the years, I used to try to work on stuff, like literally with no resentment, like I'm not giving up. And one of my biggest lessons is that you're not giving up. You're giving a different perspective or you're giving a different action so that you can have something so this customer can get up. Because it's not about you and what you can do. It's about how you can get this back up and operational and mitigate this problem for that customer. So I know that's a big thing that comes with a lot of us technicians, that if we can't fix it, I feel like I failed. No, you haven't failed. You just have to sometimes take a different path to get to the answer you need.
Good.
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Mark. And a lot of times people in IT, we're all problem solvers, right? That we want to be able to fix that problem and say, yes, we've got it fixed. But a lot of times that figuring out the solution, right, takes time. So I think as people mature, as this goes in directly what you're saying is when you really get a level where you're like, hey, I know I don't know this. I know that the customer doesn't have, 30 minutes, an hour a day for me to research and fix the problem. But I know someone who's in another work group or sitting, a couple of rows down from me who probably knows, right? And it's definitely not a bad thing to ask for help, right?
Right. I think that's actually a really big step in learning a knock role in general, not just here, but in any, is knowing when to admit your own ignorance, right? And that's okay. Once again, you may not have been exposed to this thing or that thing or this particular issue, but someone has, guarantee it. And when we find that answer, you can then add that to your repertoire, your knowledge for the future. But there comes a point when you're sitting there fighting with it, like Mark's talking about. I know all too well what that feels like. But
Yep.
knowing when the moment is to say, all right, got to escalate, push the button, and figure out what's next. It's a different path, but everyone can learn from that experience for sure.
Yeah. And that definitely goes back to the thing where we talked about cross training, right? And continual customer service improvement. Us reaching out to other work groups, whether they're colleagues or people in different areas of the company for technical expertise, or maybe it's interpersonal, right? Working with a particular customer to solve a problem. Really is kind of what we do, right? Because no one person knows all the answers. So it's definitely a team effort. And that's where our NOC really excels.
100%. Yep.
Certainly.
I think having the smaller organization, because we're still up and coming around here. I have all these multinational organizations and such that do the exact same thing we do, but having that smaller group and being able to have that more personable relationship with your customers is a very key factor, I feel like, with our business model and how DartPoints as a company interacts. I see customers who come into this data center all the time, and I always make it a point to go out there, say, hey, how are you doing? All of that stuff, just to, even if they're stopping by to look at something or check a cabinet or anything like that, I still make a point to go out there, talk with them, and they know me and they can come up and say, hey, I'm kind of having this problem. Can you help me out with it? And I definitely feel like that gives us an advantage of being a smaller organization with it.
Yeah, being a smaller organization is, and definitely we've grown, since the legacy venue, and then growing, continually growing, right? We have more data centers continuing on, and this really, kind of carrying that message, right? The NOC, kind of the reason to being, right, really falls on the NOC managers at the different locations. So, you guys really work as a team and collaborate on bringing that vision to all of our NOC staff, and at the end of the day, reaching the end customer.
Yes. Yeah, with the end customer in mind at the destination of that will. Absolutely.
Yep.
Now, CarRon, don't let your head get too big, right? So.
For sure.
No,
for sure.
No, it's the truth, though. It is the truth.
As you mentioned, us as the NOC managers, we want that to be, kind of uniform across all locations, but we do have the challenges of your guys' locations look very different from what's in South Carolina versus South Central market, and the Midwest market looks very different. So we try our best to make sure that no matter what that site presents as a challenge, the customer service remains the same for any at all locations.
Yes,
absolutely. And that is critical as we continue to grow, right? And I think
we want to remain scalable as we continue to grow. I mean, I think that's what any good business wants to do, is continue to grow and present a good product to their customer base. I think that we are well suited to continue to do that.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Agreed.
Absolutely. So future of the NOC, right? And we haven't really talked a little bit about, I kind of want to talk a little bit about this and, kind of poll you guys and see, what do you think about when we start looking at the future of NOC services, future of, artificial intelligence, right? I think I know we're everyone in the industry is looking at AI, and I think there's some good things that can happen as AI grows, whether if it's having the customer, the end user, connect and talk to an AI or chat with an AI. As those things continue to get better, it's spooky how human-like those things are. I don't think it'll ever replace a human, right? But they're getting to where it's really, spot on in terms of like the interaction is really good.
I'm not sure personally on like a chat thing for us. It could be in the works. I haven't heard that myself, but hey,
me either.
It comes around.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything either. I think people are interested in it and learning more about that.
Yeah, absolutely. And one part I do know that is coming around for us, and I don't know how much it's been, kind of marketed necessarily so far, but our new MDR EDR product is going to have some AI features on it that will have some machine learning to be able to alert us to trends and patterns that we otherwise as humans would probably never see. Yeah. So that type of stuff is coming around and is going to be prevalent for us here soon, and I'm excited to see what it can ring force.
It's going to be something like, what's the movie? I forget. It's a Tom Cruise movie when the guy says, "Hey, you're getting ready to commit a crime." Identity Report, right, or something like that. So it's going to be like that.
Minority Report,
right?
Yeah.
So you're going to be calling the customer, "Hey, we're just letting you know your server is probably going to go down in the next 30 minutes." You're like, "No, it's been running fine." No, it's going to go down.
I think that's really more kind of the immediate future. Is it's augmentation, right? It's helping the NOC analysts, proactively be able to understand that something is about to happen, or making them more efficient at being able to get to the answer quicker, right? I think that it's augmentation rather than replacing something that they already do today.
Right. Absolutely.
Great point, actually, because it's something that we definitely, as the managers and then the NOC at large, our team, we're trying to constantly raise the bar. We want all of our people to continue to learn and grow. And if that means that they move up within the company, find another position, even outside of the company, we're happy to have brought them along on that journey. Even if they're here for a snippet of time or for a long period of time, we want to see and help them grow and raise the bar. Is what our team does, and how we manage to do it.
Absolutely. I think no matter how good AI gets, that human touch really is still different from anything right now AI can provide. So
for sure, especially with the communications to our customers and such. When I send you a message saying, "Hey, I've received your ticket," that is me typing it out. I don't have a command that does that. I don't have a copy and paste. That is me typing out that I have received your ticket. And I think that brings back in the personable aspect of it. Now, Dustin and CarRon, you plug your ears, but I do use the ChatGPT model for, let's say, Okay. I use the ChatGPT model for just as a thesaurus and as a does this sound good. I know for experience and personal, the ChatGPT model is confident, and it can be wrong and confident as well. And it kind of changes it to look like it is very real, and that's a legitimate statement or legitimate fact about something, but it is wrong. And it will be confidently wrong. And that's kind of a drawback that I see as right now in current day of something like that being implemented.
I've seen that so many times where something I need to research something. I'll maybe converting from a different measurement type or something like that, and I'll ask GPT just because I need it quick, and it'll come back, and I'm like, that does not sound right. And literally I'll go, "Are you sure?" I'll type the word, "Are you sure?" And I'll go, "Oops, I'm sorry. I must have made a mistake." The right answer is this. And of course it's wrong again. So it's like, well, no. One more try. And then I'm, but I think it's
praying power.
Yeah, I definitely think AI is we're seeing it definitely in the cybersecurity world, right? That is really, coming along heavily, and we'll probably have some special guests in upcoming podcasts regarding MDR and some of our vendors. That'll probably be something we'll probably do in the next maybe couple of podcasts. So trying to line our folks up. All right, guys. Well, we're almost at 45 minutes. Let's kind of go around the table. I know we talked about who we are and some things. Let's talk a little bit about some of the things where we talked about how long you're at the NOC. If you could sum up, what do you enjoy working in the NOC in kind of one sentence, and then tell us maybe a little bit about your hobbies and things that are kind of that you enjoy, whether if it's working in the NOC or kind of in your personal life.
I want to hear from Jerry first.
Uh-oh.
I think you got an interesting hobby, man. Like you got some cool stuff going on, man. I want to hear from you, dude.
Yeah, I definitely do outside of here. I'll touch on a little bit about inside the NOC first. Specifically with that, I really enjoy it. It's the satisfying factor of being able to assist somebody. Of course, my background with retail consumer electronics sales, as well as MSP, our customers back in the day with it were like small mom and pop shops, like one person CPAs or anything like that is the people that we would support. It was full stack everything. If they had an idea, we would do it. But having all of that in my background and just being able to help out people and seeing, hey, they're benefiting, they're profiting from something that I did for them is a very rewarding factor in one of my drives for specifically being here with it, and being able to excel and to see multiple facets of it is amazing.
What area of retail? I'm curious about when you said consumer electronics. What area?
So I was specifically on sales floor and as a consultant at Big Blue Box, Best Buy.
Oh, cool.
Big blue
Very cool.
box. That's it.
Yep,
Yes.
absolutely. Absolutely.
But outside of the knock and such, of course, you can see the camera quality here. I am a photographer, and I do work on the student-run newspaper on campus, the Daily Gamecock. So I am a reporter on there, and I do the photography side of that, as well as videography and a little bit of professional work. I do that a lot on the side. And so it's a passion of mine.
Absolutely.
Awesome, man.
CarRon, Mr. Green
Oh,
Thumb.
man. I was gonna push it over to somebody else, but let me answer your first question. So, the collaboration is what I really enjoy, right? I get a chance and have gotten a chance over the last 2 months coming into DartPoints to meet some really new faces, new talent, and that is the most satisfying thing, right? People that are finding common ground in the same area in industry. So that answers the first question. Outside of work, I run a vegetable farm. That's what I do. It is a lot of work, but it is my passion, and that's what I love to do. So. It's really awesome, but it also gives me a lot of wisdom to use at work. So yeah, it's really cool.
Very cool. Mark?
Well, first of all, here at work, I'm like CarRon. I love working together, collaborating with people and learning things. But I think the main thing for me is that the growth. When I first started here, from the stuff I started doing to, 15 years now, we were racking servers, pizza boxes. Dell 1750s, we would set those up and, we would do that. And I say the growth because now I haven't racked the server in over 8 years,
Yeah.
And
I'm logical now, man. It's so logical now, right?
Yes, I'm saying it's so logical, but I'm saying
Virtual
the growth.
machines.
Yeah, it's the growth for that. It's like it's I'm giving the thing when I'm going to my next point. It's like a kid, you watch the growth of it coming up in one fashion, but now it's doing something different. And that's where our field is. It started out in one fashion, but it's moving so different. Now we're talking about AI. When I came up, it was voice recognition. It was so many things that we've graduated to that we keep, hitting the plateau and moving to different things. And I'm really excited about the AI once everything, fully vents out. But it's the growth pattern, just being a part of something that's growing and moving in a direction and being a part of it. That's the real, the influence for me. From secondly, my hobbies and my things, I'll sum it up with my hobby by just saying one thing. I am a father of 6 kids. So that's enough said right there, man. My hobbies are basically,
that's your hobby.
That's my hobbies, being involved with my kids, my family. That's the consumption of the rest of my life. And also on the top of that, I like to do a lot of philanthropy work. So we have a nonprofit we do a lot of things with. So just staying active with that, again, growth. Everything I'm involved with, I'm seeing growth. Even my kids' growth. That's why I thought about the word growth, because everything is moving and changing at different stages, and it's moving in a good direction. And I want to be a part of that.
Absolutely.
Hey, Mark, you said that you haven't racked a server in 8 years. I've got one sitting over here if you want to come up to Columbia.
Negative. I don't regret those little rack nuts. CarRon, you just was asking for one. I used to have our hands on those little what is those rack nuts we used to have to put in there?
Oh my God! Tear your fingers up, dude.
Look, everybody, y'all.
Everybody
y'all
did
feel
the
it.
same thing.
When I said it, everybody felt it.
I'm starting to rub my fingers. I'm like, man, I'm glad. We thank God for VMware and virtualization, right?
And look, I'm gonna say this one thing that I was really mad about that y'all can really compensate. I just saw nowadays there's a rack, there's a server rack mount that lifts the server up, and I'm like, you remember the days when you used to have pull the rails out and had to split them into slots in a certain way and get them, and now there's a mount that raises it up for you automatically, man. It's just so much growth.
Yep. Dustin?
Yeah, absolutely. Dustin?
Yeah, so part of the background I didn't really mention earlier, I mentioned 4 years, but I came from Jerry's level as an analyst in the NOC up in the Midwest, and I more recently have just come down here into the management role. And the leadership of our team is something that I'm still very much learning and growing myself. As Mark put, I kind of, as you guys were mentioning each of your kind of words and things about the workspace, I think each part of what you guys have said is very much within myself as well. So the growth of Mark, the collaboration with other teams and within our own team, and just learning and coming up together. I love to see individual successes as much as the whole team's success. So from the leadership perspective, I'm still learning, growing, but I love seeing the success and the growth of our team. It's been very rewarding so far. So as far as myself outside of work, just love to be outside. So kind of match CarRon with that. Maybe not such a green thumb, but get out with the dog.
What about the furry kids though, man? Yeah,
that's what I was gonna say. Get out with the dog and go put some miles in. Being down here in the mountains now is new to me. I'm used to the cornfields up in Indiana, but no, the mountain life has been suiting me so far outside of work.
Nice.
So that's been me putting in some miles and on the trails, trying to get away from some of this technology while I can.
Yeah,
Absolutely. It's good to get away from time to time. All right, guys. Well, thank you so much for everyone joining on today's podcast. I think we're going to have some good content come out. I will be getting this edited and out probably this afternoon, if not sometime over the weekend. So be on the lookout. So thank you for everyone joining and being a part of this podcast. I think this is going to make a great addition to our episodes.
Yeah, Will,
Absolutely.
Michael, thanks so much for having us on. This was awesome.
Yeah,
thanks,
thank you
guys.
guys.
Yeah,
Yes, thank
thank you guys.
Y'all have a good one. Take care.
Absolutely. As always, customer feedback. You can find us on Apple Podcasts as well as Spotify. There should be links there to submit, feedback. And also we have dartpoints.com/podcast, where you'll be able to go directly to our website and listen to all the podcasts from there and with an embedded audio player. And of course, the video version will be on YouTube. So stand by and get ready for that to come out in the next few days.
Cool. Thanks, man.
All right, guys, this will wrap it up. Thank you so much.
Have a good
Thank
day,
you all.
everybody.
Bye, everybody.
Bye-bye.